First things first, Rob.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm fine, Robin. Thank you. How are you?
I'm alright, thank you. Thanks for asking.
Of course.
So before we get into the music you've been making lately, I'd like to jump back to the beginning quickly.
Sure.
Do you have a first musical memory?
Ooh. Of me playing music, or of me listening to music?
Can be anything.
I guess you're gonna. My first musical memory is I could just picture riding in the back of my dad driving his Volkswagen van, and we had a little camper van, and we used to camp a lot and stuff. And I just remember being in the back seat and just loving the music that he played. He just had a really nice music selection, and that's definitely where I got interested in music, and I heard all my best music from my dad in the 70s.
What is the one band or the artist that sticks out of being in the car and listening to music?
You know, of all things, I'm picturing driving and hearing I'm hearing this song by 10cc, and it's I'm not in love, so don't you, something of this sort. You know the song I'm talking about?
I'm not recognizing it, but I'm not the biggest 10cc.
Neither am I.
Connoisseur.
But it was a big hit back then between
Right.
that and Chicago. Okay. So you know, it's like Saturday in the park. You know this one? I think it was the 4th of July.
I don't know.
No,
I don't
it's
think
before
so.
your time. It's early 70s stuff. But stuff like that. Elton John, Fleetwood Mac,
Right.
early 70s rock.
And then what age was this?
Oh man, I'm probably like 3 years old.
So very, very early.
Oh yeah.
What did music kind of meant to you as you were growing up, and started to mean to you as you picked up an instrument?
I'd say it was just probably a constant soundtrack to just life in of itself. So it just seemed like everywhere I was that I'm picturing, especially fond memories and stuff, there was music attached to it. So probably the radio or my dad playing records. And so, yeah, I must have liked it, because then I was just, the next thing that was happening is I remember wanting to listen to his record collection, and I was really young still, and he just said as long as I don't scratch his records and I put everything back where they came from, I could go ahead and listen to his, and he had a pretty nice record collection. So I would just sit there and put on different records, look which has the coolest looking album cover. So now I'm looking at like Pink Floyd and ELO and these, all kinds of bands, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, and just listening and just sitting there, just like looking at the stuff and hearing it, and I just picture like a dream-like state of like doing this, and I really like to do that even more so than watching TV.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what music is. That's what it is for me.
And then when did you kind of become aware of the music that was being played in the Bay Area? Was that not until you started playing in band?
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit later now. If you skip forward a few years to where I actually started to notice where artists were coming from. So then at that point, I can recall knowing that Journey, the band Journey, was from the Bay Area.
Right.
And I loved Journey. I used to listen to Infinity constantly. That was my dad's favorite album, so I listened to that one all the time. And looking at the picture, I'm pretty sure the picture on the back cover is them standing in front of a scene that you could tell it's San Francisco. So I was like looking at that, and I'm like, wow, these guys, it started making sense that they're from the Bay Area, and that I guess that may be leading you to thinking, well, I'm from here, maybe I can play music too, like these guys.
Right.
So that was like my first, them and Starship, Jefferson Starship, what used to be Jefferson Airplane.
Sure.
And later on, of course, loving Janis Joplin and of course other music, but Metallica, stuff like that was a long ways away still.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea about that yet.
Because there was at that time when early Now let's say late 1970s. Do you remember kind of the mentality or the vibe that there was?
Yeah, I mean, well, now I'm about 9 or 10 years old at that time. So that's when, that's about when I really started to get into music to where I thought I wanted to play music, and start to discover harder rock music. So that's what got it really exciting.
Right.
You know, I love music up to this point, but strangely enough, this heavier sound, yeah, that's, you know, it started to seem like more, I don't know, probably more going with a rebellious feeling and like feeling kind of, you know, it's like edgy and like kind of, you thought you were, and other friends were like getting into that stuff too. So this is, at that point is when I discovered Kiss. So, and our whole band did at this, the original members back then, we all kind of discovered Kiss at the same time. And, you know, seeing the cover of the album Love Gun and how these guys looked and like, and how that music sounded, like took it to the next level. And it was like, whoa. So we saw Kiss live. That was like my first rock concert to see in 1979 at this place called the Cow Palace in San Francisco. It was all original lineup on the Dynasty tour. And I was at that point, so 79, I'm only 11 years old at that show. And like our parents had to bring us there. And we painted our faces like Kiss, you know, we were like all there. And at that moment, it was that exact moment that we said we needed to do that.
Right.
So we better learn how to play some instruments so we can do that. And we did.
And then you pick up the guitar. Did you take to it easily?
Kind of, actually. What happened was there was an acoustic guitar sitting around the house. My dad just had it. He didn't play, but I don't know, he probably thought it was cool to have one. So it was just laying around all the time. So I started messing around with that thing. And I didn't really know how to play. I was just trying to make sounds and make it happen. But the thing is, I wanted to play drums. I was into drums. Okay. So I played around on that guitar, but I didn't know how to play. Then my parents got me a drum set and took me to drum lessons. So I took drum lessons for around a year and was playing drums at first. And I loved playing the drums. And what happened, the reason I didn't continue playing drums is just because they were too loud and I couldn't play all the time. Right. You know, it was like, stop, and you can't play at night, you can't play early. I'm like, what a drag. Like, you can't hardly ever play these things. So because of that, I was like, all right, let me try guitar then, because I can play this more, like at night and whatever. So that's when I switched to guitar.
In terms of creativity then, because one of the things that your band is quite well known for is kind of having somewhat different type of riffs. So was that early on that you started figuring out your own way of playing?
I think so, because I was sort of self-taught, and I took guitar lessons one time for a year, then 6 months at a different time. But unfortunately, I was too impatient I was just impatient, man. And I probably didn't have good guitar teachers. So they weren't working with my person, like what I wanted there. You know, they were just going by their program. Right, and I found it really stiff. So I just started to, once I was able to figure out how a couple chords went and what the basic concept was, I just was like teaching myself how to figure it out by sound. And so then I was trying to write riffs, and write my own stuff immediately. I never really did learn too many cover songs. Most guitar players I know can play tons of covers, but it actually takes me kind of longer to learn somebody else's stuff because I was making up my own stuff right away. And probably because of my roots in drumming, so I have I try to play drums on my guitar. So I'm have a real percussive kind of style. Right. I really like focusing on rhythmic stuff, and it's just part of my playing. So that probably shapes the kind of stuff that I write. And yeah, even when Death Angel was first trying to play at all, we were already trying to write our own songs before we were trying to cover other songs. We just went straight to trying to make up our own stuff.